Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Start by letting everybody know that we have shared the link for the Fiscal forum in the Q&A. Let me know if there's any problems with that. So if you take that link and then you post it into your web browser, and it sounds like we're getting some questions about volume. Should be good now, hopefully. So let us know. You still can't hear anything. The presentation will be right here. When you copy this in your browser, you press enter. It'll take you to the service now, and the presentation for today is posted. For today's session, we have our experts from across all the different areas that are going live in Fiscal, so it's going to be a little bit of a larger group today. Our Q&A, who answers the questions might be a little different since there are so many moving parts and so many items being covered. Maybe I'll just move my mic a little closer to my mouth. I try not to keep it too close so you guys don't hear any noises, but hopefully this is a little more clear. All right, since we have such a large group of presenters today, I'm going to keep it short. All right, cool. So looks like I'm getting some good feedback from the participants. So today we're going to do something a little different. Based on your feedback, we are going to use a new process for our Q&A. So you'll see that we've turned off the chat for this meeting. Our intent is that everybody who is on today's call will go to Menti. And then I should probably put a code on this slide, but it's on the next slide. So the code for today, if you go on your phone or even on your computer, you can just type in 180077. That's the code. I'll share an on-screen reminder in a second. And then here you'll basically see, when we have our questions that we're asking on Menti, you'll be able to type those in, but you'll also be able to ask a question directly. So you'll be able to write your question here. So for example, how do I ask a question? Question mark. You can do that on your phone as well. And you can click submit. And then it'll show up. And so from there, you'll be able to, depending on how you can scroll through all the questions that are going to be asked today, and you'll be able to like the ones that you really want to know the answer to. And then if we click top questions, those are how they're going to be sorted. And from there, that's the order that we're going to answer questions in. So this is going to be a little bit of a new process to make sure that no questions are missed, because I know not all of you will be able to access Menti. We'll be copying any questions that are asked in the Q&A directly into the Menti for you. So that way, you can still use WebEx, although we recommend you use Menti. All right. So for our first question, we're going to ask, what's your favorite local place to eat? To get started on this one, you need to go to menti.com and enter code 180077. I responded to a question asking what the code was, and I actually typoed that. So please use the 180077. All right, and we'll go ahead and show you guys some results. In a mountain. I don't know if I've ever actually eaten in a mountain. Oh yeah, I have. Well, skiing. It's a good place to eat, actually. We have lots of good food recommendations today. All right, some good responses. And then you'll see here throughout this, I'll be able to go in. I've already kind of answered the question, how do I ask a question? So we'll get there. Uh, if you need help with our accessing WebEx, I'm not really sure what this question is asking, so that for now. So this is how we're going to go through. So I'll go ahead and get started now on our content. Thank you all for responding. I'll take a look at these later. Let's do this. It's making me hungry, actually. Okay. All right, so thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully everybody knows our next go live is going to be July 1st for the July 2020 release. This is going to be SEO's big go live. We're really excited about it here at Fiscal. And we know that all departments are very busy right now, and a big go live is something that none of us really want to deal with, but this is the big moment, and SEO will finally be live in Fiscal. So we're all very excited, but I know there's a lot to prepare for. So in today's presentation, I'm going to go through the 3 areas where the SEO release will impact departments. The first one is the plan of financial adjustment. That's the interface and the associated functionality. There is also the Fiscal SEO legacy integration items and CVCVAC. There's also going to be some other changes that are kind of related to these that we'll share with you towards the end. All right, so we'll go through a quick PFA overview. We had a very large town hall for anybody who was focused on PFA, but I know that there's a larger audience for today. The key highlight here is that SEO or Fiscal is going live with PFA information as part of 2 releases. There's going to be the July 1st, which we will switch to an interim solution, and then there is the full functionality solution, which is going to happen we're planning towards the end of July, August timeframe. So before we go live with the full PFA functionality, we are planning to do an additional town hall. So the interim solution is going to require, that's also going to be part of any prior year or unsent PFA activity as of July 1st. So if you have anything that is unsent as of July 1st, you'll still need to use the interim solution. And we have some links here in the presentation. So once again, we've got the presentation link in our Q&A, and we will be able to, you'll be able to access it in your ServiceNow at any time. So that's also got the recording, which is available on YouTube, and the presentation itself, if you would like to go back and review more information on it. At a highlight, there has been a slight update to the slide from the PFA presentation. So you'll see here that the interim solution, so that interim PFA process is going to require you to submit a ticket to the FSC. So that's different than today, because today you only send your signed paper PFA transaction request to SEO. But tomorrow you'll need to first create a ticket to the FSC, and you'll need to attach a copy of your PFA transaction request and a GL spreadsheet upload. The GL spreadsheet upload is going to be exactly the same items that you included on your PFA transaction request, but it will just be in the legacy mode. Pardon me, that'll be Fiscal COA. You won't use the legacy COA that's on your paper transaction request. So then after you've submitted that ticket and you've attached those 2 items, you'll send in the paper TR to SEO, and that'll either be by interagency mail, as it is, or a scanned copy well under the COVID-19 emergency order. Then what will happen is SEO is going to, is going to review the PFA transaction request. They'll review the copy in the ticket to make sure that they match, and they'll make sure that the GL spreadsheet upload also matches. So all 3 have to match. That's really important. And if no action is needed, we're good to go. The FSC ticket will let you know. And if for whatever reason action is needed, that ticket will be updated letting you know that you'll need to take action, and that ticket, depending on what the action is, will change. So you'll need to take some action there potentially, hopefully not. And then step 6 of that process is that both the entries are going to be loaded into Fiscal and SEO Legacy kind of the same day. One note here is that because there's going to be additional steps here, please allow 3 additional business days of processing time for your PFA transaction request. And then if any updates are made to this process, to give you more details about whether it's going to be electronic or require interagency mail, please look forward to a communication, and we'll also share the updates at our next town hall, which will be the Go Live town hall. All right, so the key point here is that the interim process is needed to keep Fiscal and SEO in sync until the PFA interface is released. So we have that full functionality coming. Like I said, we'll have another town hall before that. But we need that FSE ticket with the GL journals there, so that way the systems are kept in sync. All right. One note here is that the fiscal year 2019 and 2020 YEC accrual process is going to change for PFA activity posted 6/30 and prior. So there's going to be a change to your YEC process. For this change, we recommend that you refer to DOF's training, since the change is going to be kind of in the accounting and some of the accounts used, and the training section will be updated. I know that DOF is actually actively giving PFA training updates to all departments with updated queries and so forth. So we're going to refer you to DOF on that one. A few reminders for year-end handling of open AR payments and corrections. We know that everybody should have received the communication, the year-end handling for, open AR deposits and corrections. That was sent on 5/29 to all liaisons. If you received it or if you'd like to see it, you can also see it on the announcement tile in Fiscal. So the key point here is that for any deposits that did not meet the cutoff date, you'll want to make sure your accounting date is set to July 1st and on. That's not going to be required for any catch-ups or anything prior to fiscal year 2020. So that's just things that are already have occurred in SEO Legacy, but have not yet occurred in Fiscal. And then Fiscal is currently restricting, since it's already after the cutoff date, is restricting users from doing that in Fiscal. So as I said before, you'll just have to make sure the date is after July 1st, 2020. All of these pages have been restricted in Fiscal today, and you can only use the NOB for FY19 accounting dates. So those are things that are already in SEO Legacy that are not in Fiscal yet. And then to help you all with this, we're actually actively working on, there should be a new report, which we'll share with you. So that's going to be the RPT AR 079, the deposits payment accrual at year-end report. That should be released soon. There's a new job aid that's going to be posted shortly. It's Fiscal 391C. It's in approvals now. I think a bunch of people have looked at it, so it should be good to go soon. There's also the DOF year-end training or year-end close training. So that should help you as well. And then as a reminder, any AR deposit, non-$0, must be linked to a deposit slip or STOJE. So standalone non-ZDDs are not allowed. And Fiscal has added a new system check to verify that an AR deposit is linked to a deposit slip or an STOJE. Okay, so now we're gonna get started on some Q&A and get some more Menti. What is one skill that you recommend everyone should know? So while we fill that out, we'll go through some questions.
Hi, everyone. This is Brianna. The first question that we have is, How will the PFA review and submission process work with continuously appropriated funds? CA. How will the system know which budget period the CA funds should use?
Okay. For this question, the budget date will still be populated in Fiscal on the source transaction first. So whether that's from LD allocations or a manual GL journal, a manual PFA related GL journal, I should say. So that's how Fiscal will have the correct budget period. Now, as far as the PFA interface is concerned, since this is an outbound interface and SEO Legacy doesn't have budget periods as such, it actually doesn't matter for the PFA review page and the interface.
Okay.
Okay, the next question is, do we use 5390900, other items of expense, miscellaneous, and 1110100, pending PFA transfer to post PFA letter in the GL module?
Um, okay, I think this one might have to be a takeaway where we can work with finance to get kind of a best practice as far as which 5 series account to use. Um, however, um, since this is kind of for the interim process is just there for the cache reclass to be recorded correctly. Um, it doesn't necessarily matter which 5 series account, but yeah, we will give further instruction with what we recommend is the best practice. Now on the as far as the balancing line goes, it should be the 1110101 account to balance the 5 series expenditures. And then I just wanted to also mention uh, departments. I don't. Sorry, I don't know if this is only covered in the previous town hall, but I mean I don't know if the user attended the town hall, but uh, SEO Fiscal staff only would be able to post transactions in the PFA submission ledger. So um, departments won't have access to record transactions there themselves.
And that's why we need to make sure that you send us the GL spreadsheet upload with those listed out. Right, Anthony?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And the next question is, where can I find the Q&A that we had from the last PFA interface overview town hall?
So I'll answer this question. We were able to get all the answers because there was a lot of questions that came in after. We didn't have enough time to answer all the questions in the session. So they're currently in the process to be posted. They're all collected and ready to go. And so when that is going out, we will send a communication with it. Thank you.
Is the interim process going to start tomorrow?
No, so the interim process would start July 1st.
Thank you. So this question is, where can I view the presentation? If you type in the link, this is it. It's also posted in the Q&A. So when you got that link, or you can go directly into ServiceNow without the link. So if you just go to ServiceNow, it'll look something like this. You type in your email, your login. I have to do that separately. So yeah, after you're all logged in, it'll look something like this. You just click the knowledge base. Okay, this is a little different because this is the version that I would see. Um, Point is, you go here, you click knowledge, you'd see something like this. You click your end user resources. Typically, I start by newest because you'll see the things that you want to see that are more recent, such as this presentation. I think it was only posted a few days ago. It'll show up here, and then you'd have the link good to go. Thank you.
Next question is, do we need to add an additional 3 days for a total of how many days to process? We need to know this for the federal draw timeline.
Okay. So I believe SARD's turnaround time right now is 10 business days. So that would be a total of 13 business days in the worst case.
Thank you.
How does the +3 days affect NSF notifications? If SCO notifies the department that a fund is going to NSF, how are they going to be able to process a PFA if that is the appropriate solution?
Okay. For NSFs that would need to be resolved by kind of emergency processing of a PFA that is kind of in SEO's queue already, which is the only time when an emergency TR would be processed to resolve an NSF today. So in those cases, um, what'll happen is SEO SARD would let our team know that there is an NSF, and we would check to see if there is a PFA TR sitting in our queue that still is being worked on by our team before it goes to SARD, and we would kind of bump that to the front of the line. So we would prioritize review of that TR and get it into SARD queue, and then from there, they would process it as they do today.
Okay, thank you.
And the GL upload template that we attach to the ticket.
Okay, so I think you can find the template on ServiceNow. I believe it should be included in the links in jobaidfiscal.001. Is that correct, Corey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you just search jobaid001 on ServiceNow, you'll be able to find it.
For AR payments and corrections processed after SCO's cutoff dates, confirming that both the deposit payment accounting dates must be 7/1/2020 or after.
So for remittance corrections that are entered after the May 29th cutoff date, the deposit accounting date and the payment accounting date must be July 1st, 2020 or after.
So sounds like a yes to me. Thank you.
What about if we're doing a $0 deposit? Do we need to add a deposit slip or AE attached to it?
A $0 deposit would not be tied to a deposit slip, but depending on the request type, the user would have to provide the required document information that is required.
And I think there's a lot more details on $0 deposits and the different request types in the JobAid Fiscal 391. Thank you.
How will the new PFA interface affect unremitted PFAs from before July 1st?
Okay, so for the unremitted PFAs from before July 1st, I'm taking that to mean that, for example, allocation was run prior to June 30, but it just wasn't sent on a TR to legacy yet. So if that's the case, then these would need to be sent through the interim process. So basically, still the paper TR, but also now the GL journal upload file for the Fiscal side as well for the PFA submission ledger. Um, and yeah, so for the PFA interface itself, that'll only affect, or that I should say, that'll only be applicable to PFA activity recorded in Fiscal after it deploys. So I think we'll have slides later on to cover that in more detail, but yeah.
Okay.
Like today, will we be able to request a process transaction day so we can time it to federal draw?
Okay, so I believe that this is a question in regards to the PFA interface interim process. Um, so the answer is should be yes here. You should work with SEO the same way you do today to make sure that that lines up with your federal draw timing.
Thank you.
For an AR deposit correction sent before the cutoff that was denied by SCO after the 529 cutoff, how do we delete the deposit? The system does not allow unchecking, complete, and save either.
For deposit corrections that were submitted prior to the cutoff but was denied by SCO, and you were able to submit a paper transaction by the June 15th deadline, and these transactions would interface via INFGL 108, you would have to go into the denied deposit and post to uncleared collections with a payment date of July 1st or after. And then after that, you would have to do a $0 deposit to reverse that payment applied to uncleared collection.
Yeah. And for that question, we actually had the steps to do that are included in the job aid 391C. So when that is released, we'll let everybody know.
Yes,
Thank you.
and also I just wanted to also add that if you're having trouble with making edits or changing the accounting date on that deposit, you would have to submit a ticket through FSC, and we can assist you on that as well.
All right. We still have a few more questions, but I don't want to take all of our time to go through the questions. I want to make sure we're spacing them out throughout the presentation. CPR, some survival skills. It's probably a really good skill set to learn. A lot of cooking recommendations and general people skills like respect and listening. Critical thinking, that's something that we all need to use as much as possible nowadays. Teamwork. Okay. Programming. Those are all some good recommendations. So we'll go back to our presentation now. The next thing that I want to talk through is the Fiscal SCO legacy integration items. As hopefully you guys have already seen, in July, there's going to be some new transaction requests that are going to interface from going to interface from either from legacy to Fiscal or Fiscal to legacy. That includes the PFA journals. Those are going to start interfacing from Fiscal to legacy. And all of this information, whether it be pro rata, advances, some additional TC35s and 38s, as well as TC29s are going to start interfacing from SCO to Fiscal. A key piece of information that I want to make sure every fund administrator is aware of. Your TC29 Smith transfers are going to be interfaced and recorded to the statewide BU 0000. What that means is that departments will not be able to see these balances directly. So previously you would enter them under your departmental business unit, but since these are automatically going to be recorded in BU 000, you wouldn't want to do that anymore because you wouldn't want to double count them. There's no need to do it. And we know that that is going to be a business impact for any fund administrators out there. And our goal is to minimize the impacts to departments to make sure that you have the same reporting capabilities as you do today. So after July release, you have to look out for some more information on how we're going to have you gain access to see those balances again. We know that you need them for your reporting purposes. All right, a new thing that's gonna occur is Fiscal, to prevent those double postings, Fiscal is going to limit transactions that are entered from legacy, like the SCO JEs, with an accounting date starting 7/1 or after. So that means that source 10N is going to be going away for any of those catch-ups for anything after 7/1. For post-July, you'll want to use the source rec. What that is for reclassification. And there, for the most part, will not be approval workflow there if you're not impacting the appropriation level. However, if you are impacting the appropriation level and using that source, it will workflow to SCO. And for that source, you also want to use the SCO type of transaction reclass so that we know it's a reclassification. And that'll be used for any of the JEs that are interfacing from SCO legacy to Fiscal to add in your department level chart fields. Additionally, since there shouldn't be a need for catch-up anymore in AR, that NOB, I think it's the location NOB, won't be used anymore. That'll no longer be available. And we are going to tell you how to update. There's going to be an update for CTS corrections and reclassification that's going to come soon. And then for AP, there's no need to do the catch-ups for AP anymore, except for CTS checks, which is what you'll still use the manual voucher with the secondary ID. Okay, so let's get into CVCVAC a little bit. So let's get into CVCVAC a little bit. CVCVAC is going to come to Fiscal, and all of you should be aware of what that means for you today. So departments, you guys will use Fiscal for your vouchers and so forth and everything today. And then all of those are interfacing to SCO Legacy. And then SCO Legacy is going to checks and validates if there's enough fund cash and appropriation authority today to cover that transaction in SCO Legacy. And then if SCO determines that there's not enough fund cash or appropriation authority to cover that payment or transaction, they will avoid it. And then they'll notify you with an NSF. So that's kind of those NSFs that you received today, that's what's happening. So in the future, Fiscal is releasing code to validate those fund cash and appropriation authority directly in Fiscal. However, most departments, we have a small group, it's a very small group of departments that are piloting control. At this time, most departments are just set to what we're calling track with. And so what that means is that Fiscal will check and we'll be able to use that data to better understand what's going on in Fiscal, just to make sure that it'll check now if you have enough fund cash and appropriation authority. And if you don't, starting in July, you'll start to see warnings come up that say, hey, we don't think you have enough fund cash or an appropriation. And that might trigger an NSF down the line, but it might not. So we're going to use that data in conjunction with SCO Legacy to help us better understand what's going on. And there's really no change for you at this time because your transaction won't be prevented. It's going to be mostly business as usual. Okay. And then those warnings that are going to come up, they're kind of using the CVCVAC budget check ledger. That's similar to existing ledgers. So you'll see a CVCVAC exception if there's insufficient fund or appropriation authority present, or there's no budgets, even for $0 that exist in Fiscal for CVCVAC ledgers. But because we're only setting you to receiving warnings, that's all they'll be. Okay. So for our next question, we've been piloting out this new way of asking questions. We received a lot of feedback on it previously, and we want to just give you guys an opportunity to give us your feedback on it, so we know if this is something that we should try out, how does it compare to what we were doing before? And then if you guys have any feedback about like other ideas about other ways we could do Q&A, we would love to hear it in our CMO mailbox. Okay, so while we are getting that data, I'm going to ask we're going to go through some more Q&A at this time.
First question is, will we see TC29 in ZZ8?
Okay. So the ZZ SEO GL108 transactions query will it will pick up all of the transactions that come through GL108. However, since the normal departments don't have access to the statewide BU, these transactions will not show. But for the fund administrators, we are working with finance and fiscal to get a secondary ID access so that the fund administrators would be able to view not only the TC29 activity, but other the other activity affecting statewide BU or 9900 pro rata BU and so on, so that the fund administrators would still be able to do their work.
Thank you. Okay, so I think this is kind of related to in our last town hall for the PFA interface town hall, we received more questions than we ever had for a town hall. And so one of the feedbacks that we got was to spread out the Q&A throughout the presentation to make sure that it wasn't just huge blocks of Q&A and we had enough time to get through the entire content. So thank you. We'll be sure to do that.
For deposit IDs created by STO for cash receipts deposits, can we still post to an unclear account and then create another deposit ID to remove from the unclear account and remit to SCO?
Yes, you will be able to post to uncleared collections account for CTS fund and then do a CDD to remove it and remit to state fund.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the answer for the federal draw timing, but you qualified the answer to the interim process. What about going forward? How will we time it?
Okay. So this will be covered again in the rest of the slides. I think when we get to the kind of full functionality of the PFA interface. But yeah, I mean, we can definitely answer your question now. So for once we do have the PFA review page and the PFA interface, departments would have more control over when the TC36 is posted as SEO legacy. Basically. For most cases, especially like when you're trying to time a federal draw, for example, you would be able to go to the review page and then select it to interface over to SEO. And then after you provide your certification and legal authority, it'll actually go over that same night. So that's how you would time it. It's giving more control to the departments.
Okay. Yeah, and so just to clarify, before we go live with the full functionality, for now, all departments, as of July 1st, all departments need to be aware of is the interim solution. And if you want to know more about the full functionality solution, you can go back and look at the recording or the presentation for our PFA functionality town hall that we did a few weeks ago. However, before we release the full functionality, we will have another town hall where we'll go through all of the details, including federal draws and FTF and other concepts. And then I think our plan right now is to have demonstrations to go through those to see what it's going to look like in the system. But look for that towards the end of July, sometime in August. So thank you.
We had sent our estimated June PFA to SCO. We won't know our June actual expenditures until mid-July from our labor module. How can we true up the estimate and actual?
Okay. So I would refer to the estimated PFA process that was covered in the PFA specific town hall. And Corey, maybe we want to make sure we drop a link in the Q&A when we release it for this as well. But yeah, so I would refer to that. That should be the process that's followed um, if you have already recorded your estimated PFA in Fiscal as an ESAD SEO type GL journal. Um, but otherwise, for the if this the TR is going to be submitted during the interim process, you would you would just calculate the net kind of the same way that you do today. I would actually defer to finance here. So if you feel that you need assistance with this, I would recommend that you reach out to your FISCU analyst.
Okay, so for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the slide for the estimated PFA. It's not in this presentation, but we'll go back to it when I'm able to pull it up. So we'll go to the next question for now.
Not being able to see our cash balances is a huge audit issue. How are we supposed to know if we have the cash to make payments and process PFAs if we can't see our cash balances?
Okay, so I don't know if this is a question in response to like the Smith slide that we went over. Um, if it is, I'd just like to remind everybody, Smith is just for surplus money, right? And when the Smith participant fund needs cash, cash is automatically transferred over by SCO. So just the fact that only the fund administrators would be able to view the Smith balances shouldn't affect your ability to view your cash. And on top of that, when you are processing your PFAs, you should be referring to SEO legacy and checking your cash balances there anyway, since that is still the book of record.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. So quickly, I loaded up the PFA town hall presentation, and then you'll see the estimated PFA process. So here, there's a new process for the PFA interface to send estimated PFAs and then net actual to SEO. So sending the estimated PFA is the same actually. It's you enter the GL journal with the source ESAD and Fiscal, which will workflow to SEO for approval. And then at this time, you won't be able to select the related appropriation because there is no PFA review page. But then the next part of it is the new business process prior to running allocations, which is you reverse out the estimated PFA using a new source so that the allocation is run for the full amount. And then you review the results, which is the and that still needs to be sent to SEO on the review page. And then you select the net amount activity on the review page to be interfaced to the SEO legacy. So that is when we go to full functionality. Anthony, what about for the interim process?
Um, Yep. So we just had a kind of an involved discussion with finance earlier. There are some nuances that affect the YEC as well. So that's why I'm going to defer to finance on this. So I recommend, again, departments reach out to their FISCU analysts for help with this if they
Okay,
have questions.
thank you.
The next question is, how will the interface Smith transfers get department level chart fields?
So the answer for this is they would not, since they're just being posted under the statewide BU. Um, I think there may be something more here, but Um, I think that'll be something, Corey, that we'll need to reach out to Jeff and the M4 team for
Hmm.
the changes that they're making. Um, I think planned for March. Yeah, so we should check with Jeff on this question.
Okay. So we'll get back to you on this one as a takeaway.
We still have to
Sorry.
Okay, the next question is, we still have to reconcile last year MS2 under remittance and over remittance issues. If we can't use NOB, how can we fix these after July 1st? There's too much to reconcile that we can't complete before June 30th.
So for these that have a payment accounting date prior to July 1st, 2020, department users should still be allowed to use location NOB for these.
That's for accounting dates prior to 7/1?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If no manual vouchers need to be created, how will this affect the 1099? When claim schedule is submitted to SCO, only the vendor name is provided and the vendor number is not.
Adam, are you there?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
So can you repeat that question, please? Oh, it's on screen. I see. No venue. So the manual, I think you're talking about like the when you have a paper claim and you're basically well, 0999, 0999. I think you have to make a correction. I'll have to follow up on that as far as, but it seems to me you can still do the $0 regular voucher in order to reclass paper claims, but even in that case for 1099, you still had to go and do a manual adjustment to the 1099. I think that was something that was previously messaged in a prior one. So I don't know if there's something more to that, but yeah, I think that was something that there is a previous town hall we were talking about with cleaning up when you have to do a paper claim, like a rush claim instead of a voucher, because vouchers don't allow you to do rushes. I think we had that conversation, but and I don't know if this is talking about something else, but I think that's what it is to me.
Okay, so I do know that our Fiscal AP team made some updates to some job aids, which I'll go into later, which might cover this. But what we'll do is we'll take it away to make sure that we can get a concrete answer for this question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can departments still do a $0 voucher to liquidate PO?
Yeah, that shouldn't be changing.
Okay, thank you.
How do we clear outstanding deposits in fiscal year 2018? FSC is suggesting for a SQL fix. Is there any other workaround?
Since Fiscal will not allow deposits for fiscal year 2018, we would also recommend that a SQL fix is needed.
So it sounds like you'll have to continue to work with FSC. Thank you.
After July, the AP catch-up voucher is no longer available for using the secondary ID. So does that mean that there's an auto catch-up that will be created?
So I guess again, what would be the auto catch-up need? Because catch-up is before was when the paper claims and electronic claims, basically legacy warrants were not being interfaced. They are being interfaced, so there shouldn't be any need for a warrant catch-up. So you should still be able to do a catch-up for CTS payments, but there should be no need for a warrant catch-up at all.
And I'd like to remind everybody that Fiscal went live with the went live as the warrant book of record a few months ago.
Yeah, but the all legacy warrants had been started interface back in December 2018. So even though SCO just recently started using warrant Fiscal as the official warrant book of record, all of those legacy warrants had been interfacing since December 2018.
Thank you.
We use the secondary ID to post direct transfers for PIA, so it will liquidate the POs. Is PIA interfacing, and how will it liquidate the PO?
So for liquidating POs, that's what the $0 vouchers are for. You basically create the $0 voucher, it liquidates those POs. You basically tie the voucher, the $0 voucher to the PO. There should be a job aid out there for that.
Yeah, so I think, and Anthony, you might want to help out here too. So the GL journals will come in GL, and there's a job aid, I think it's 512, where it outlines how to go ahead and do a reclassification from GL to AP. So you'll just need to follow that process because it is a little bit different since you don't want to double post. Did I get that right, Anthony?
Yep, sounds right, Corey. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Department posts manual or catch-up transactions regularly due to the check is cut outside of Fiscal. Should we submit an exception request to keep the second ID?
So there was no intention of taking away the ability to do the ORF catch-up transactions. It's only limiting the warrant cash type. So you shouldn't have to do an exception to keep it. I mean, I think those secondary IDs are not going anywhere. They're only eliminating the ability to select the warrant cash type in order to create those catch-up vouchers.
And then here I'm going to take another pause on questions and continue through some functionality because we do cover some advances content. Okay. So it actually looks like we don't have the advances content, but
Corey, I don't think the advances content that we have for BP19 is
Mhm.
relevant to that question that was just asked, if that was what you're
Oh,
thinking. Yeah,
okay.
it has nothing to do with that.
Okay, we'll still take a pause on questions. I wanted to take a look at the feedback we got from the Menti. So it looks like using Menti is a better experience for users. We appreciate that. And like I said, for Q&A methods in general, please, if you guys have any other ideas or something that you've seen work really well elsewhere, please share with us. Okay, thank you. So we'll continue through some of the other changes that we're going through that are going to happen in July. So the first one is that Fiscal is going to be blocking unposting. So to unpost any item that has raised an exception, you'll need to submit a ticket to FSC. So the general idea here is that unposting really shouldn't be done in Fiscal because it can, it's not best practice. And so we do know that there will be some CVCVAC stuff that will cover, as departments transition to control, in which case you'll only ever be able to unpost an item that have raised CVCVAC exceptions. And at this time, since most of the departments on this call are actually set to track with, this won't apply. So there won't be a reason or need to unpost any items or any transactions. And even a note to here is that Fiscal departments should no longer be able to unpost AR items after July 1st. I think that was taken away a few times, but they were able to fix any type of error bug that was allowing departments to do so. So you'll have to use $0 AR items to kind of remove those. Another change that's coming is there is changes to accounting dates for transactions that require cash reclassification. So as a reminder, what reclassification is, Fiscal uses this process to reclassify eligible departmental transactions into the statewide BU. And so to give you guys an example of what that's going to look like, just one type is a journal voucher. There are multiple types of transactions that go through cash reclass, and this is going to cover a lot of them. So I'll show you that in the next slide. But the example is today, kind of like before July 1st, 2020 example, is that let's say you go ahead and create a journal voucher. So that's journal voucher number one. It was created, 2 days ago on 6/15. So the reclass occurs on 7/20. That's after go live. The accounting date is still going to be 6/15 because it is going to inherit that date from when it was created. So that means, this really shouldn't impact your YEC for this year. But then as of July 1st, 2020, that's journal voucher number 2, it's created on 7/15. And then the cash reclass occurs on 7/20. That's that calendar date. The new accounting date would be 7/20. As we're no longer going to allow it to inherit, it's going to use the current date, the date where the cash is impacted. So you'll see here, I've put a little note of what inherited date and current date are. But hopefully you guys were able to understand from my example. But to give you guys some more examples in areas where this is going to happen, so you'll see here the JV, AP ORF, GL journals, non-PFA, AR CIP, and AR DJP. Before, these were all inheriting the date, and then in the future, the accounting date is going to be whenever the cash is impacted after cash reclass runs. And so what that looks like in Fiscal is, on the left side, it doesn't matter how long, in this case it's approvals or just if it's posted later, for whatever reason there's a difference between the accrual and then the cash post. It's still inheriting, it's always going to inherit from the original date, whereas in the future after 7/1 for any transaction that's created after 7/1, if it takes 2 days for approvals to go through, or if it's having some sort of delay in the post, it actually adds to it. So if it takes 4 days, it's going to add 4 days to the accounting date, and if it takes 2 days, it's going to add 2 days to the accounting date. So that's kind of how you guys can think of the before and after. And so there are other transactions that use cash reclass that there's not going to be a change in how the accounting date is set. You'll see there on the left, it's mostly for items that are going to interface like AP vouchers or AP payments. The ORF for partially repaid is different than the fully repaid because for partially repaid, that means a voucher is paying at that time. I think I got that one right. So yeah, same kind of concept. If it's inherit, it's whatever the original transaction was created, and then if it's current, it's whenever the cash is impacted. All right, so there's some changes to accounts. So this account 1109100 is going to go away. You won't be able to use it after July 1st. Internal corrections can be made pre-July 1 using this, but you'll have to contact FSC if something needs to be done there. And then there are some other account changes that are going to occur, and you should see a communication from us soon outlining all the different account changes. So thank you. Okay, so let's go back to our Menti questions. So thank you for voting on this, everybody. So the next thing I wanted to ask you guys is, now that we're 2 weeks away from the July 2020 release, how are you guys feeling? Are you aware of the changes taking place? Do you understand them? Do you support them? And then while we give you guys an opportunity to answer those questions, we'll go ahead and do some more Q&A.
Okay, the first question is, how soon will the AR side be notified of the changes with NOB no longer available July 1st?
A communication will be sent out by July 1st to departments regarding the restriction of NOB. And I also want to mention again that location NOB can still be used for payment accounting date prior to July 1st, 2020. And we will also be making updates to Job Aid 391A and 391B regarding catch-up transactions. And those updates to the Job Aid will be available starting July 2020.
Okay. And just so everybody's clear here, if you know that you think that your AR piece of your department doesn't understand or doesn't know the change, please work with your department liaison. So that way we can make sure that all the changes are communicated, even from this presentation. It would be good if you just send that team a, hey, what's up? You guys know that that's happening. The NOB is going to be delayed or disabled for any accounting date post July 1st. It'll still be able to be used for the pre-July stuff. So that's kind of part of making sure our change is successful, because we have to make sure everybody knows about all the changes that are coming. Thank you.
What location code will be used for $0 deposit corrections with a loss of NOB? For example, APO corrections, CRO reclass, etc.
We will provide instructions in the Job Aid for new location codes that can be used, and this will be available in July 2020.
Okay, thank you.
How is this any different from a payment voucher going through budget check currently?
I think that's related to CVCVAC.
So for a payment voucher, the current budget check that happens is at a more like a mod accrual level. So it's not at a cash level. So when you do the budget check and you see that the budget check for the voucher is valid, that's not checking cash at this point. So basically, the CVCVAC check for a voucher payment will happen during the payment selection during when pay cycles ran. So basically, the difference between that is today, the payment is allowed to get created and then goes to SCO Legacy, and then they determine if it's NSF or not. In the future, we'll be able to check if there's enough cash before the payment's actually created. But for most BUs, on July 1st, we're going to be allowing the payments to go through. We're not going to be creating exceptions.
Okay, thank you.
Fund administrators need to see the cash activity as soon as this new SMC process is implemented. How is that going to happen?
Okay. Yeah, a couple of questions on this already, but yeah, basically we're still working with finance and fiscal to set up secondary IDs for the fund administrators so that you would have access to the statewide BU, the pro rata BU, and consolidated BU. It would need to, the fund admins would need to work with Fiscal to first off set up those secondary IDs, and then they would need to use those secondary IDs to view that activity. But I mean, the other, I just want to point out, SEO legacy is still there, right? And it is still the book of record. So you can still use that as your reference, and what's interfacing in should match exactly.
Okay, thank you.
The payment accounting date is different from legacy, so we create a YE accrual journal to correct cash. How do we reverse this accrual journal if we cannot use 1109100 pending cash account in July?
I think this will have to be a takeaway so we can provide the correct business process for this.
Okay, thank you.
How will paying out of GF clearing affect the CVCVAC budget check? Maybe I'm misunderstanding the process.
I think I need a little bit more clarification on what exactly this is asking. If the person that asked this question, could you specify? I'm not sure if you're just asking paid out of general fund, how that's going to affect CVCVAC budget check. And I'm not exactly sure what the question is here.
Okay. So just so everybody's aware for CVCVAC, before your department goes live with control, we'll make sure to have another town hall that's going to go more in depth to CVCVAC. We'll have an opportunity to answer questions for CVCVAC there, since this might be a little far out. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as far as July 1st for most of these departments on this call, there's not going to be an impact, but we'll definitely go into it in more detail before we set departments to control.
Will only the processor receive the NSF denial, or will there be a report to pool of denial of NSF?
So I think this question is referring to the CVCVAC exceptions. Whenever you go live with control, there will be a set of reports that you would use.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if that was related to CVCVAC.
What do you mean RE source has appropriation level impact for reclass journal? What happens when we reverse the interface SCO 999999 and post to the lower level program? Will this flow to SCO approval?
So this would be a reclassification in the way it's supposed to be used. That I don't believe that would go for SEO approvals. If, for example, you were changing the fund or you were changing any of the appropriation level, not the departmental level chart fields, it wouldn't go for approval since it would also need to update SEO. That would be considered a correction and not a reclassification. And I think that those might just be denied if you try to use REC for a correction. Okay, thank you.
For the interim process, we need to submit the TR and GL journal spreadsheet upload. Do we need to upload the GL journal to Fiscal? Can we include the departmental chart fields, such as project ID, service location, activity, etc., to the GL journal?
Okay, so the answer is no. You would be submitting a scan of the TR as well as the GeoJournal spreadsheet upload file on your FSC ticket, right? And then our team would review the TR against the GeoJournal spreadsheet upload to make sure the two match. And then we would actually upload the GL journal and coordinate the posting with the posting of the paper TR. So the departments would not be uploading themselves. And then as far as whether or not departmental chart fields would be included, I mean, you can, but you don't need to. So the idea of the PFA submission ledger is basically the journals that are being posted in this separate dedicated ledger, they are basically the equivalent of your TC36 PFATR. So in other words, you only need basically the level of information that SEO has. So you would not need to have specific departmental chart fields. But for project ID specifically, I think, yeah, it would be a good idea to include that just in case it is needed for COA translation. I don't think that it would be, but that is the one departmental chart field that I think should probably be included. But for other ones such as reporting structure and service location, those they'll have no impact basically.
Okay, thank you.
Will NOB be permanently disallowed?
Me?
Hello, sorry. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So for transactions with location code NOB will still be allowed for transactions prior to July 1st, 2020, but will not be allowed for transactions with accounting date July 1st, 2020 and after.
Okay. So you'll still be able to use it for anything before July 1st.
Correct.
Thank you.
Why are we unable to use 11N to process manual allocation? Why would 11N work on some journals but not always?
Corey, I may have missed this. Was this on one of the prod support slides?
That we said that you're not allowed to use 11N.
Right.
I don't remember saying that in the presentation.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. This is not going to happen. The 11N SEO types, so that's for the PFA correction and for the CARE, what's that, clearing account reclassification or manual allocation, you'll be able to continue to use those.
Okay. Thank you.
Will the $0 catch-up vouchers be created in primary fiscal account that goes through the approval process?
Yes, so $0 catch-up vouchers are used as the primary account. So if you were to try and reclass, you really shouldn't be using that for if the appropriation is changing. You should be doing a journal voucher. But if you did try and make a change that affected appropriation, then it would, I believe it would be caught and routed. But yeah, I think they're encouraging the $0 voucher to be used just for the reclass and not for actually corrections, you know. If you want to make a change at the appropriation level, you should be using a journal voucher.
Okay, thank you.
We have some GC/ORF deposits from prior fiscal years that have incorrect cash type selected. How will we be able to correct the cash type for those old deposits after July 1st if we can't use NOB?
For these, you can still use location NOB for accounting dates prior to July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Since TC29 is going to post under BU 0000, which report can we use to reconcile the cash, and how do we balance the cash account if we are using the report under our BU?
Yep. So again, this would be for the funded admins. We are still in the process of setting up secondary IDs, and we'll have more information for you on this topic shortly.
Okay, thank you.
How does the $0 voucher work since SEO denies the $0 voucher? Right now, we are using the secondary ID to record the $0 voucher to reduce the PO.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be using the $0 voucher to reclass with the secondary. That basically is affecting appropriation and not routing for approval, and it also would not send any correction entries to the legacy side. The point of the $0 voucher is to liquidate the PO and not to actually correct appropriation. That's why I said that you should be using a journal voucher if you're actually trying to correct the appropriation.
Okay. Thank you.
If we start processing fiscal year 2021 appropriation transactions through EFT to SCO Legacy on July 1st, would those inbound interfaces from SCO to Fiscal fail since there's no appropriation setup in Fiscal for the new fiscal year in Fiscal?
I'm not sure if this is related to CVCVAC with the budget setup.
I'm not sure if it's related to that either, but I know the plan is to, if we don't have budget set up, we are setting up $0 budgets so that we don't have exceptions. And if we do, we can get those solved very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to chime in on this and a little
Okay.
more. Probably not my place, but so for these, they wouldn't be posting an SEO legacy until the like the Budget Act items are released. And Adam, I think you need to check on how the legacy claims interface is handling bringing those in.
It would bring them in, but if the budget's not set up, then it would go to error on our side too. So
yeah, that's true.
once it's set up, so it'd be on error on the legacy side, but it'd also be an error in Fiscal as well.
Yeah, I just got confirmation that once budgets are posted in SCO Legacy, they will be interfaced and post to Fiscal.
Okay, thank you.
Where is the job aid 512 you mentioned? I'm unable to locate this on ServiceNow.
Just double check that that was the right number. Pardon me. The number is for Fiscal 451. It's reclassification of SCO legacy transactions interface entries. So my apologies there. Thank you.
When you say no more unpost for AR items, are you referring to deposits or group IDs? We understand the change to unpost payments were implemented. However, not for group entries for AR item setup. Would additional group entries be used for correcting?
The unposting for AR items are for the group IDs.
So does that mean that you won't be able to unpost group IDs anymore?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Why is the account 11091100 not allowed anymore?
So I think
Can we take that as a takeaway?
I think this has to do with CVCVAC, right?
Yeah, let me take that as a takeaway.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we don't have very much content left, and we have about an hour and 10 minutes left, so I think we should be able to get through all the questions. I'm gonna finish the content now, and then we'll come back to questions. So we'll take that one away. Okay. So some go live information that I wanted to share with everybody. We've gotten a lot of questions on this, about the unavailability of Fiscal. So similar to previous releases, the Fiscal system may have a short window of unavailability from 627 to 628. So this might happen for a few hours the night of 627, hopefully after everybody's stopped working. So during this period, the system's just not going to be ready, so there won't be any updates that are going to happen during that time. I heard some rumors that it was going to be down for an extended period of days. That's not true. The goal is to minimize downtime as much as possible, to the point where hopefully there's no downtime. Thank you. And then since we know that this is a big change, there's a lot of different items that are happening. You see the variety of questions that we're getting. This is impacting, many of the modules, whether it's AR, AP, or GL. We are going to have user support labs starting in July. So there's going to be two types of user support labs. There's the regular user support labs for anything production related, and then there's the user support labs related to anything that SEO is going to have. And for the SEO related ones, we're going to make sure we have SEO SMEs in the room, and those are going to be on a temporary basis. Right now we're planning during the month of July to have those. And we think this primarily might be around some of the PFA items, whether it's the PFA interim solution, or potentially even the full PFA functionality, depending on when that goes live. We're probably going to extend the USLs to that. And like I said, we'll have SEO folks on, in the room to help you during those sessions. Okay. So we also have a task. It's BUSN975. This is the task for you to identify user USL support. So like if you need the USL support. So this task is already, or should have already been sent out to you. If you haven't gotten it yet, that means it'll be coming out soon. The idea is that if you want support for any of the related functionalities that are going live in SEO, that's like PFA, if you have any of the SEO integrations, whether it be like the direct transfer reversals, SMIF transfers, if you're a fund administrator and you want some support there, CVC VAC, or anything else, then you'd want to fill out this form, send it back to CMO as soon as possible. It's a little bit different than the process for the other USLs, which are still going to be available. And then if we get content that we feel like we should use the other process, we'll actually get back to you and tell you. So this should only really be for the changes that are happening in July. Okay. So the next thing I'd like to go into is what you guys feel like we've done well today for this town hall and what we could improve in the future. And so for this one, I'm not going to hide, I'm not going to show you guys any of the results. So those will be hidden. I want it to be kind of anonymous. You guys can give us good feedback, bad feedback. It's all good. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, because we can use it to improve, or we can continue doing what you guys like. So the next question we had is, can we have a separate town hall for direct transfers? We'll take a look at that. We'll have to take that one back and see where we can fit that in. Since direct transfers for the most part are already live, there's just a small change that's happening.
Hey, Corey, if you want to go back to that account question, I have an answer.
Okay.
The 1109 account.
Mhm.
Departments can't use them post July 1st because they could enter one-sided cash journal entries, and that would make the book cash not equal to the treasury cash. So the book and the treasury cash need to match.
Okay, thank you. Go on to the next question.
If the accounting date follows the cash posting, when is the expenditure recognized?
So the expenditure is still recognized in modified accrual with the accounting date on the transaction. I think you were referring to the cash reclass dates being changed. I'm not sure, maybe it confused, maybe some people thought that the accounting date on the transaction was going to change. Post July 1st, the accrual transaction will always have the accounting date set by the user, and then the cash impact date is the current date for the fiscal enter transactions.
Okay, thank you.
is the replacement account for 1109,100?
Let me get back to you on this specific one. I don't want to, I think I know, but I don't want to give the wrong account.
Yeah, so like I said on the accounts, we'll actually send out a communication with all of the account changes that are going to happen. That's currently in the works. And then we'll actually share that on our Go Live Town Hall as well. So I wanted to get back because we did have one question that was sent in using the survey link prior to the session. So this question was, we only use PFA for labor. We can send pay per TR to SEO for estimated June expense by June 15th. Do we send the difference for June expense later to SEO? How do the true June expenses get processed? And so the answer to that was the net PFA actual may be sent to SEO in July after running labor using the interim paper TR process.
Hey Corey. So this actually this question was asked earlier as well, like the same user probably. It's because
Oh,
it's the exact same question. So again, if you have questions about this, I'd recommend you reach out to your FISCU analyst because again, we just had a discussion on this topic this morning, and this does have some effect on your YEC entries. So yeah, I recommend working with finance if you have questions.
okay, thank you.
Are there any exceptions to allow the use of NOB after July 1st, 2020?
As mentioned earlier, NOB can only be used if the accounting date is prior to July 1st, 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Can we view this question and answer through Menti by entering the code?
The answer to that is yes. So I'll show you guys that in a second.
Could we clarify/expand on the cash reclass change? For example, I'm posting to GL for May today. When the cash side happens, will my accounting date change to June? Could we get a better list of which transactions we need to watch out for?
So I think this goes back to where I was saying that the expenditure will still happen in May, but the cash impact will happen in June. So it's not going to change the accounting date on the actual transaction.
And another note for this one is the accounting date changes will only apply for transactions after July 1st. So if it's created after July 1st, so this has anything posted in May is going to act exactly the same as it does today. All right, so then to the previous question, how you see the questions in Menti. If you go to menti.com on your phone or your computer, you type in the code, you'll see this. You can give us some feedback here about what we did well, what we can improve. And then if you click ask a question, you'll be able to ask your question here. And then if you click the top questions, you'll be able to read through this question that was just asked and then the upcoming questions that we're going to answer.
Can you explain again if an abatement is submitted to SCO before June 30th and gets approval after July 1st? Will the accounting date automatically change to July 2020?
For remittances that are submitted to SCO and requires their approval by June 26th, if those are approved, then those will interface to Legacy. But if those are denied and sent back to the department, then the department will be required to change the payment accounting date to July 1st, 2020.
Okay.
How can we reclass the interface transaction to a department detail and AR module without NOB?
We will be providing a new location that can be used for departmental level corrections, and that information and business process will be available in July.
We're going to be updating job aids 391A and 391B with that information. Okay, so I have only just a few more slides to cover, so I'm going to go through those slides and then we'll just close out the town hall using the Q&A. Okay, so the rest of the presentation has, some other resources that we shared as we started approaching the July release, whether it's other town halls that we had. There's a deeper dive podcast that goes over some of these changes at a high level that was shared on the Fiscal TV. Some of our past town halls presentations and everything are there as well. You can also see recordings of all of these town halls on our Fiscal YouTube, so you can click that link as well. We are still getting the Q&A out, so you'll see a communication for that coming soon. Some general updates to job aids that are coming soon. The ORF advances should be coming after July, and then these 3 job aids have already been updated, and they should be ready to go and see the differences now about how to do, because there's been a lot of questions about, manual catch-up vouchers, so you want to go check that out, or if you're reversing use tax, you could go check this out, or 245 for anything related to the YEC process. Actually, I'm not sure if that was updated, but for 391, many updates coming to 391 for the catch-up process. There's also 391C for the year-end close that's coming. There's 400 for more information on catch-up that do not route to SEO. So this is some updates. I think there's a lot of questions on these that if we go through the job aids, you'll see, and you can also come back after July for the USLs. So 404 has been updated for the catch-up process. That'll be posted soon. We've got Fiscal 440, which is kind of going to cover all of PFA now. It's going to cover the full functionality, the interim process. And then I mentioned 451 earlier about doing reclassifications. And so this will be slightly updated as well for reclassifications for AR when that information is available. Okay, so right now we're at the pre-go live town hall. We were planning to do a town hall the week of 7/1, but we got some feedback from some of the SMEs that we might want to give you guys a few more days before we do that. So there's potential that we move this town hall to the Tuesday after, which would be 7/7. And if that's the case, this other post-go live town hall that we have will be postponed probably till the week of the 20th. So just make a note of that these dates might be slightly off by about a week. And the point of that is to give you guys more time in the system to ask questions about things that you've seen. Another part of that is we are going to have the user support labs. Those are going to start July 6th. So if you sign up, you can sign up. It's going to be first come, first serve. So if you think you might need it, you should sign up in advance. And then for the post-go live stuff, if there's common questions that we're seeing, we'll update the content there so we can share it to everybody to make sure everybody knows about any common things that are happening or common questions that we're getting. Okay, so finally, if we're gonna close out our session today, continuing on the Q&A. So we'll get back to that in just a second. But if you have any other questions or comments, you can always ask us at fiscalcmo@fiscal.ca.gov. We'll also take feedback, especially, we've got the Q&A process, so if there's anything else that you'd like to share with us, you can go ahead and do so there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Menti, and I'm actually going to switch the Menti question to leave the Menti question on what we did well, what we didn't, because I want to make sure you guys have lots of opportunity to give us feedback if you guys have it. Okay, so then we'll just finish our town hall today. We'll stay here until 4 o'clock, and we'll keep answering questions as long as we're getting them.
Okay, the next question is, SEO legacy is the same as SEO prod?
Yes, that's correct. So when we say SEO legacy, we are referring to SEO prod or SEO mainframe, however you want to call it, FC00, via direct, whatever. SEO's books. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
How do I clean up the 2090050 unapplied receipts?
This question will have to be a takeaway so we can provide the business process for this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
How will we reverse accruals that require a 7/1/20 date without using account 1109100? Do we need to accrue 1920 items to an account other than cash?
So accruals cannot be reversed in 7/1 with 1109100 account. They must be reversed with the due to, due from offset that they reported to SCO.
Okay, thank you. And then, like I said, we will have a communication outlining changes to accounts.
So will SCO Legacy still post the SMIF and SMC SMD activity to the agency code and not to 0000?
For SEO legacy, all G-type accounts, including 1210 Smith and 1140 Cash and State Treasury, those are posted basically without a BU. But if the question is asking, is there anything changing on the legacy side? No, nothing's changing on the legacy side. So, for the SEOJE, it's still going to get, routed to your mail code if you're the fund administrator. You will still get your SEOJE, your tab run the same way you do today.
Thank you.
This is a cash reclassification question. Fiscal end user creates an ARCIP on July 15th, 2020. ARCIP posts 4 days later. If SEO approval is needed, how does it affect our cash?
So I think this is just asking when the cash would be impacted. So the accrual would happen on 7/15 and keep that accounting date. And then if the cash impact happened 4 days later, it would be the 7/19 date.
Okay, thank you.
We process federal invoices through a bypass fund 0912 and require SCO to approve the vouchers before doing the federal draw. How will CVCVAC process affect this process if money has not yet been drawn?
So these BU and this fund will be set to track with. So for the time being right now, this will not affect them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's the same question. Thank you.
For fiscal outstanding AR with ENY 2019, will we expect to receive the payment after July 2020? Any accrual or action needed for these outstanding AR ENY 2019 during year end?
Yes, the department will have to accrue these outstanding AR at year end. You can follow the guidance provided by DOF, and a report will be available in July. The deposits payment accrual report at year end will be available to be used for accrual.
Okay, thank you.
If the PFA is for labor distribution related expenditures, the agency will not have GL Journal spreadsheet to upload since LD does the reclassification over the LD module.
Okay, so for whoever asked this question, I recommend you go back to the PFA town hall material, maybe get some more context on what the the processes, what we're trying to accomplish, basically. Um, but I want to clarify for your your LD or your allocations, you're gonna still process these. I'll consider them source transactions. Kind of the way you do today, and that'll record your expenditures in mod accrual. The GL journal spreadsheet upload, that's just something that's done to keep SEO legacy and Fiscal in sync from a cash basis perspective, basically. So that's why it goes along with the TR. Whatever you're putting on your PFA TR, the same thing needs to be posted in the PFA submission ledger on the same day in order to keep the two systems in sync.
Okay, thank you.
Is rec source included in the PFA?
So this one's going to be a no. Once we have the full PFA interface functionality, only transactions that have gone through PFA validation would be eligible for the PFA interface. So in other words, that would be your transactions from your labor distribution, your allocations, or the manual PFA related GL journals. And I'll go over what the current SEO types for those are. So that's your ESAD, estimated and advanced PFA, PFA for PFA corrections, and then CARE for your manual allocations. So those three GL journals go through PFA validation and therefore would be eligible for the PFA interface. But this rec source, since it's not going through PFA validation, it would not be eligible for the PFA interface.
Thank you.
If 10N source will not be available in July, what source do we use if no SEO approval required?
Hi, this is Pranath. I think the departments can use REC if 10 is not going to be there, REC to avoid the SEO approval. It's going to be similar to the 10N catch-up stack.
Thank you. The REC is for any type of reclassification in GL.
Will the secondary IDs be disabled?
From all the other questions, it sounded like the answer to this question is no. But I think this might be related to, if this is related to AP, I'd refer to those other vouchers that we were, not other vouchers, the other job aids that we referred to in the resources section. So let me actually go back to that really quickly. So in the presentation.
It's not my understanding that the secondary IDs will be disabled.
So depending on what you're trying to do for AP, 270, 386, or 400, all three of those job aids have been updated. They're already available now for catch-ups in AP and reclassification. Thank you.
How do we fix any deposits requiring NOB starting July 1st accounting date if prior accounting date is no longer available?
There will be a new location available starting July 1st, and we will update job aid 391A and 391B to provide further instructions.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up to incorrect cash type on old ORF/GC deposits. We will not be keying in fiscal year 2019, so the accounting date will be after July 1st, 2020. How can we fix these in the next fiscal year without NOB?
So the answer for this would be the same for the prior question. There will be new location available to be used starting July 1st, and instructions will be updated in Job Aid 391A and 391B.
Okay, thank you.
We currently use NOB to collect non-COA related data such as payment ID, reference number, and description to assist with reconciliation. How can we correct these fields after July 1st, 2020?
This is also similar to the prior two questions. There will be a new location available for departmental level corrections, and that information will be available to you starting July 2020 in Job Aid 391.
Thank you.
Is there an interface cutoff date for FYE for automated claim schedules to meet the deadline to interface into Fiscal by June 30th, 2020?
Adam?
Oh, sorry. So which interface is that? Automated claim scheduling. I don't think that this has any effect. So if you're talking about if you have an electronic claim program where you submit electronic claim to SEO, there's no fiscal impact to that. If audits have told you or somebody has told you as far as your electronic claim that you have a certain schedule that you have to follow, then that would be who you would want to follow. Those are assigned and issued on the legacy side and interface to Fiscal and posted. So we're not turning off that interface. Any warrants that are created on the legacy side will still be interfaced to Fiscal.
And Adam, just a quick question. If the date in legacy is 6/30, does that mean the date in Fiscal is also going to be 6/30?
We record the accounting date as of whatever the issue date of the warrant is. So if you submit that, if that payment is created on the legacy side as of 6/30, it's going to interface and post as 6/30 in Fiscal as well.
Okay, thank you.
For the interim process, if the GL journal is not uploaded to Fiscal, why do we need to send it to Fiscal/SEO?
So clarification, the departments are not uploading the GL journals themselves, but they will be uploaded by our staff after we do our review. So that is the purpose of sending it to SEO Fiscal.
Okay, thank you.
The job aid tells you to use your secondary ID for $0 vouchers to reclass paper claims and liquidate POs.
My recommendation would be to follow the process that's outlined in the job aid. Thank you.
On Fiscal 451, reclassifying GL to AP, it says to use the $0 voucher with a secondary ID, but since it is going away, would we use our primary ID to process the $0 voucher starting July 1st?
Okay, so the job aid Fiscal 451 has yet to be updated. When it is updated, you guys will receive, and I recommend you do, I think you have to opt in to receive the updates. So when that job aid is updated, you should follow the process that's listed in that job aid.
What will be the alternative to unposting group entries?
Department users would have to submit a ticket through FSC, and SEO Fiscal will analyze the need for the unposting and determine if unposting will be allowed. And SEO will be doing the unposting.
Okay, thank you.
Who maintains the chart of accounts crosswalk? We need to have the date accounting numbers that are put into use and when added or changed. Who can add this information to the crosswalk?
I believe the CMO committee maintains the chart of accounts crosswalk, and we have a liaison for that, and I believe it is Angela.
Hey,
Yeah, so that's
I think we gotta this gotta be a takeaway. But yeah, if you could drop an email to Fiscal CMO, or I guess we already have the question now. But yeah, if you can give more details about what needs to be changed and drop an email. I don't know if there's already an FSCQ for COA type issues, but yeah, definitely drop us an email, please.
okay. Thank you.
Will the answers to these questions appear in Menti as well after the session ends?
So the questions are given verbally. For the PFA town hall, we did transcribe all of the Q&A, and we will be sharing that with you. We can take up, I think we'll probably take the similar effort to, let me be more clear. We will take the similar effort to do so for this town hall as well, because a lot of these questions are important. At the same time, it might take us a few weeks to transcribe them and then make sure we have to do a validation process and then post them onto ServiceNow. So you just have to give us some time for that as well. Otherwise, if you have a specific question that you want the answer to, you can go review it. We are able to get these up on YouTube much faster. So the recording version will be there, but the transcription part of it takes a little while. Thank you.
Can we still use 1109-100 as long as the accounting date is prior to July 1st, 2020?
Yeah, as long as it's before July 1st, 2020, you can still use it. After that, you cannot use it.
Thank you. So this is the same question before.
We cannot backdate a $0 deposit. It only populates the current date in Fiscal. Is this correct?
Yes, after the SEO cutoff dates, you will not be allowed to backdate these deposits, and you will have to use accounting date July 1st, 2020 or after.
Thank you.
Currently, when a deposit is remitted to uncleared collections, the cash reclass posts to the accounting date. Starting July 1st, will the cash reclass for this post to the remittance date?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just a suggestion, can you include a revision date on all your PowerPoints? The one I pulled from ServiceNow is different than the one you're displaying. Thanks.
Okay. So we do not have added all the Menti questions into the PowerPoint because I don't think that you guys would see the value in having those in there. We could do that and put that in ServiceNow if you guys think that would be a good idea. Otherwise, we really try to limit the changes to the presentation after it's on ServiceNow, but we will update the ServiceNow version, and then I think we'll take the feedback to put a revision date as well. So I think that's a good feedback. So thank you.
When in July are we receiving the replacement of NOB? We have critical functions that need to be processed daily.
So with the job data updates, our goal is to have all of those updates and processes before July 1st. They're actively being worked on now. So, just be on the lookout for those when the job aid's updated. And then we've got a whole lot of communications that are coming out. We're doing our best to make sure that those communications are centralized and batched. But just work with your department liaison if you're not receiving any communications on it. And then if definitely not by 7/1. So thank you. So this next question looks like less of a question, more like feedback. So we'll make sure we share that feedback with our leadership. Thank you. This is the same question as before. So I think my answer to that question before was we will share the Q&A after the presentation.
CIA use the fiscal direct transfer process. I don't see them on the coming soon list.
So Corey, I'm not aware of any plans for VIA to start using the Fiscal standard direct transfer process, but regardless, the TC39 direct transfers are going to still be interfaced in the same night that they post in Legacy. Yeah.
And then Anthony, actually for PIA, since they're non-fiscal, they're not using that process. They've been interfaced since March, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. So they should show on your GL 108 reports?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
As of today, how many departments have tested the new PFA interface system? Are the tests reflecting real daily work? Is the PFA interface functionality complete and 100% ready?
So the interface is still being worked on, and right now, Department of Finance is testing on behalf of the departments for the phase one or interim functionality, and then DGS and Finance will both be performing testing for the PFA interface and the review page when the build for that is complete.
Yeah, and so my understanding too is that we had a very large PFA validation where we had all the departments come in who use PFAs. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. For BP45 PFA validation, well, I guess the updates to the allocations due to PFA validation, um, all of the fiscal departments that have PFA were brought in for testing.
And then so everyone is aware, before we go live with the full functionality with all of the updates to the PFA review page, we will have another town hall where you'll be able to see a demonstration and we will answer your questions. Thank you.
Currently, our direct transfers are not loaded into Fiscal. Our department recorded it into Fiscal with a secondary ID on AP submodule. Is this allowed in July, or do we have to do a journal voucher to record?
So I'm not sure if this is which department this is coming from, if this is on the billing side or the build side. But if this is on the build side, just like I mentioned before, all direct transfers are, besides the DGS ones, have been interfacing to Fiscal using GL 108 since March. So you should be able to see those interfaced on your GL 108 reports as they come in. If you've been double posting them, you might want to reach out to FSC so we can work with your department directly to make sure that that is not the case. Anthony, do you have anything else to add?
No, you're good, Corey. That was, I mean, yeah, from the GL 108, or I should say SEO interface perspective, everything Corey said is correct. These DTs should have been interfacing in since March. But yeah, for the AP impact, yeah, I mean, I don't have input on that.
Okay. And my recommendation to this one would be to contact FSC. since I don't think there's a change on this side for you.
Why will a secondary ID be needed for fund administrators? At a previous CBCVAC workshop, we were shown a new trial balance report for statewide BU 0000. Is the TV not going to be released?
So we'll need to check on whether or not that trial balance DLTB update will still be done. However, even if that's done, the fund admins would still need the secondary ID to view transactions that are posted to like kind of other statewide control type BUs, such as the 9900 for pro rata. The changes are not only affecting statewide BU. So.
Yeah, and then for this one, we'll get more information to you about the overall changes to these types of transactions after July. And then for the secondary ID as the information comes in.
Hey, Corey, should that have said PFA workshop?
Definitely not
No,
BFA. No.
we had a previous workshop back, I think it was last year actually, where this was kind of talked about and updates to the trial balance report were also discussed.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Yeah, and there was some discussion between the stakeholders across the state, and we came up with a solution that in the best interest of the departments, and it's in the process of being rolled out. So we don't have all of the information, or I don't have all the information right now.
Are manual buyback catch-up transactions allowed after 7/1/2020? Do we still use our secondary ID?
So I think this is
I'm not sure what manual buyback transactions are.
So this might be one of those transactions that's covered in Fiscal 270, which already has been updated. So I think you'd want to go check that one out. And if I'm just looking at this correctly, it could be 270, 386, or 400, depending on the type of transaction in AP you're talking about. So thank you.
Are we still able to use the secondary ID to liquidate a PO?
I was under the impression that the primary was to be used for the liquidation of the PO, the $0. You're not going to be able to choose the warrant cash type with the secondary ID anymore. So in order to actually use the warrant cash type, you're going to have to use the primary.
And then based on a lot of the questions that we're getting on this one, we'll need to put together some more, to put together some additional content on this to make sure you guys are ready after July. So look for that.
Mm-hmm.
Voucher was denied by SCO today. Can I fix it and resubmit for approval?
It sounds like a production thing. So I think for this one, you'd want to reach out to FSC for the specifics. And so you could share the specifics of the case of why it was denied and so forth. Adam, did you have anything to add to that?
I think that deadline has already passed. So I'm thinking that no, if it's already been denied, I don't think that it can be resubmitted at this point. But you have to. There is a list of deadlines, year-end deadlines. I don't have it open in front of me. but I believe that has passed.
Okay. Thank you.
For the PFA review page, will it list out the activity for FTF appropriations by the child project?
So if the child project is what's used in your source transaction, your LD allocation, or your manual PFA related GL journal, yes. So we're just picking up whatever is in those source transactions, and yeah, we expect that that would be at the child project level.
Thank you.
Are we still able to use GL 11090100 or source 10N to post fiscal year 2018 SCOJEs after July 1st, 2020?
Yes, after calendar date 7/1, they can still use 1109-100 on pre-7/1 accounting date entries.
Okay, thank you.
If a payment received on July 2nd, 2020 is for an open AR, ENY 2019, can this payment be applied to the open AR directly or not?
Yes, you will still be able to apply directly to the open AR.
Thank you.
Where is FSC uploading the interim GL journal spreadsheet to? If FSC is uploading the interim GL journal spreadsheet into Fiscal, wouldn't that be a duplicate of the cost allocation journals?
So no, we would not be double posting your expenditures in modified accrual. There is going to be a separate ledger created just for these. It's not only for the interim PFA GL journals. It's going to be the ledger used for the long-term PFA interface as well. But yeah, anyway, like I mentioned, it is a separate ledger entirely. So we will not be double posting your expenditures in mod accrual. But the cash reclass basically will not happen on the source transactions anymore. It would only happen after there has been a GL journal posted in the PFA submission ledger, which should reflect exactly your PFA TR, or otherwise the interface TC36 that's sent to SCO. And then cash reclass would happen again the same night that the TC36 posts in SCO legacy, and the cash reclass would be posted in modified accrual.
Thank you.
Why get rid of an NOB and create a new similar one?
Because of the July 2020 release, we had to restrict catch-up transactions, but we also understand the need for departmental level corrections, so we are providing a new location for those and providing the new business process.
So it sounds like there's going to be some changes to that that we'll outline in the job aid or in the future town halls.
If we already have a secondary ID, will roles be updated to have access to statewide BU 0000, or will we need to request this?
So there would need to be, in this case, a third ID, which would have read-only access to, these statewide BUs. And we will send out information about setting up that secondary or third ID, whatever the case, the dedicated ID for this purpose when we're ready to set those up.
Thank you.
I missed the response to the alternative to 1109,100. What do we do if we need to record cash not recorded by SEO or adjustment by SEO? Do we send a ticket?
I think we said we would get back to on the alternative account to be used, and then not sure if you're referring to the response about using the due to due from offset instead. If that doesn't answer that, we can take this back.
Okay. I think this is also, okay, yeah, I think we'll take that back. Thank you.
For garnishment checks, we split them in the office and deposit into unclear, and then we do an NOB deposit to reclass. Starting from July, how do we fund split garnishment check?
Starting July, you should be able to use the new location that we will be providing. And we will take note of this scenario as one of the transactions that department users will be entering.
Okay, thank you.
I understand ORF manual checks are not affected by the catch-up process. To clarify, will we be able to do catch-up transactions for general cash manual checks, such as buyouts with the second ID?
So I think this is one of those items that you'd want to go to Fiscal 270, manually create catch-up transactions, because that's an AP item. So that should give you the answer for this one. Thank you. So this question sounds like there was some question earlier about my voucher was denied. Can I resubmit? And then someone says you can resubmit by 6/23. So that's the date that Adam was talking about for payment in July, which will be approved by 6/30. So thank you.
Since TC29 is under BU000, how would this impact the year-end report like report 7?
Hey, Corey. Sorry, I just got a ping with regards to that last like update comment. So I'm hearing that was actually incorrect.
Okay. That's why we shouldn't take answers from our questions.
So I'm hearing the cutoff for submission was 6/15, which is actually the date I expected. But yeah, I haven't seen the year-end memo myself. But yeah,
Okay,
6/15.
so it looks like we're already past that date. Sorry.
Yep, and for clarification, the 6/23 date is actually the last date for the interface to run, but the cutoff for submission was still 6/15. So it's just processing the ones that were submitted before then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, back to this question. Since TC29 is under BU0000, how would this impact the year-end report like report 7? Will there be a change to the BLL process or year-end closing rules?
Yeah, so Corey, this is relates to what I was mentioning earlier that we need to check with M4 about. So I think they have something planned for March for this, but I don't have details on this, so we'll need to get back to you.
And for clarification, this would not be for this year. This would be for next year. Correct, Anthony?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, so no changes this year. We're not trying to disrupt the year-end close process for this year.
Is it okay for the agency to upload June 30th, 2020 JEs?
So I assume this is related to PFA. So the PFA interim process starts at 7/1. So anything before 7-1 should be the current process. Am I right, Anthony?
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Oh, so I said the interim solution for PFA starts 7-1. So any PFA related transactions should be the current process prior to 7-1. So that would include sustain.
I'm not sure what this question is asked. Like if it relates to the PFA thing. That's the
Yeah, I'm not sure
yeah
if it's related to PFA either, but if it
yeah.
is related to PFA, interim, the PFA interim process starts 7-1.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go back to the slide for the spreadsheet upload. It was at the very beginning of the slide, so I understand. So, and you guys, if you guys have a copy, this is the same copy that's on ServiceNow. So the interim PFA process requires submitting a ticket to FSC. The change here is that starting 7-1 for any of the PFA items, 7-1 and after, you'd want to submit a copy of the paper PFA transaction request and a GL journal spreadsheet upload, which has the fiscal versions of the transactions you have on the paper to FSC. And then, so there's an order to that a little bit. You have to make sure you have the FSC open first. The second thing you would do is you would send the paper PFA transaction request to SCO by interagency mail or scan copy. And that's kind of depending on if they're accepting electronic signatures or not. So we'll get back to you on that. So after that, SCO would review the PFA TR, the copy of the TR in the ticket, and the GL spreadsheet upload to make sure that they're all in alignment, they're all matching. And FSC would update if a department action, the ticket, if the department action is required, and then if department is needed, or if needed, then departments would take action per the FSC ticket. And then finally, SCO will process that transaction request both in SCO Legacy and in Fiscal in that separate ledger called the PFA submission ledger that Anthony mentioned earlier. So it won't impact anything else, just that specific ledger. And SCO Fiscal would update the department on the ticket, letting them know that they were good to go. Key
Corey, I
point.
just want to add one thing. Sorry if you were gonna wrap up. I just saw you read all the bullet points. Okay. So the footnote says if updates are made to this process, we'll be sending out updated instructions. No, like we'll definitely be sending out updated instructions. So I think the big thing is whether or not electronic e-signatures will be accepted. So once we have the decision on that, we will definitely be sending out updated instructions. If it does have to be the paper TR process, there will be a specific address. So it's still going to go to SCOC Street, but it'll be addressed to a specific room.
Okay, thanks, Anthony.
Since TR is already past the deadline, does it have to count as accrual in fiscal year 19 and TR as in fiscal year 2020 to 2021?
For remittance corrections, you would not have to accrue these, and you would just submit them as for fiscal year 2021.
Okay, thank you.
This is a follow-up question. When payment received on July 2nd, 2020 is for an open AR, BNY 2019, can be applied to the open AR directly. Does that mean there is no accrual needed for this AR and payment?
If these are for payment for fiscal year 2019-20, then these would have to be accrued at year end. So yes, you would have to accrue this if you're not remitting it by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Can we still submit ORF replenishments?
I don't know if that question is related to year-end deadlines.
Corey, I believe that is related to year-end deadlines. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but like my assumption would be the deadline's passed.
Okay, so just follow the year-end deadline communicated to you already. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Hey, man, when you're wrong, people just let you know right away. Um, yeah. So I did say I don't know. But the cutoff is 622 for or for replenishments, I'm hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony.
Do we use primary ID to reclass?
I'm assuming that's to reclassify AP
With,
vouchers.
so for journal vouchers, you definitely want to use your primary, and you should be using your primary even for the $0. Primary should be used for anytime you're making a adjustment to a warrant cash type after July 1st, because the secondary user ID will not be able to have access to the warrant cash type.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I got an update. Still wrong. At least it wasn't me that was wrong, but I was the messenger. So for all about and oh no, sorry, I was gonna say something, but that's a private message for me to relay. But, for all vouchers, the cutoff for submission was 6:15, and then the last day the interface runs is 6:23.
Okay. So this is why we have a lot on our plates. So the dates and everything we don't always have on top of head. Please refer to the communication sent out by Fiscal or SEO on the specific year-end deadlines.
We use second ID to post PIA invoice. We need to post PIA that is related to job 8451, GL to AP. Can second ID postpone disabled date?
So like I said, I think that job aid for the GL to AP section needs to be updated. It's currently outdated. I'll need to follow up again on what the exact process is for in AP. And then once we do, we'll make sure to share that with all departments. Thank you.
Let's say we run cost allocation for period 12 on July 15th. Will the cost journal still post to pending cash account 1109100?
I'm not that familiar with cost allocation, but if the accounting date is pre 7/1, then that account would still be used. If it's post 7/1, then no.
Okay, thank you. I seem to have some lag right now. Just give my computer a second.
If we submit a paper claim schedule on June 23rd and SEO paid in July, what accounting date should we use to record the transaction?
I don't know if this is a cash reclass question, but Adam, since it's a paper claim schedule, would you know?
If it's a paper claim schedule, it's going to interface to Fiscal, and the accounting date is going to be the issue date of the warrant. So if it issued on June 23rd, it's going to interface to Fiscal, and it's a post with the June 23rd accounting date.
Okay, thank you.
Agency uploads SMC, SMD, JEs monthly. Agency reconciles 1210 account monthly as tab run. Is it okay that the agency can upload JE in July, but the accounting date is 6/30/2020?
Okay, so this is more a prod support question, but I mean, I can take it. So yeah, you would still be able to record catch up for the the transactions before 6:30, the same way you are now.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to let everybody know that we have about 2 minutes left. We are going to close the town hall at 4 p.m. We'll get through as many questions as we can. Looks like we've only got 3 left, but we may, depending on if we're still getting questions, we may end up cutting short. If you have questions after we cut it short, please send an email to fiscal.cmo@fiscal.ca.gov. Thank you. And then if that's what the the year-end deadlines for ORF for punishment says June 15th. If that's what the official communication says, then that's the date. Thank you.
For TC 35/38 that were not complete by May 29th, 2020 for advanced collection distributions, is the accrual for this debit collection or credit revenue?
I believe for this, we would have to take away and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Dates given for processing are contradictory to year-end memo email received on May 12, 2020, which clearly displayed info on dates. If the communication was incorrect on 5/12, will there be an update?
I think as far as I know, no official updates have been made to those dates, and those dates are the dates that department should use. If any dates are going to be changed, then that would be recommunicated out through the official channels. At this time, I would say that all departments should view that communication as the official dates that are coming out. So if you've been giving contrary information in this town hall, I apologize for that, but please refer to the official communication. Thank you. Okay, so that looks like our final question. Yeah, that was going to be our final question because now 4 o'clock. So for this question, please forward that question to the CMO mailbox. Thank you. Everybody have a great afternoon and a great weekend coming up. Bye, everyone.